If I was going to make stuff up about him, I'd start telling people he wears diapers. I would explain that it's a long trial. He drinks a lot of Diet Cokes to stay awake. He's getting up there in years, and it's perfectly normal for a man of Trump's age and carriage to wear absorbent undergarments to stop the leaks. So, I mean, if I was making stuff up, that I would point out that the reason he stands like this and golfs like this and plays tennis like this is because he has a full diaper strapped around his little mushroom garden, okay?
And just like that, Jimmy launched a diaper strike on national television, and Trump's dignity packed its bags and left the building. I mean, imagine trying to look tough while waddling around the golf course with a full Huggies Premium strapped to your back. 9. Bro, when Jimmy said mushroom garden, I swear, even the Secret Service had to cover their faces from laughing. At this rate, Trump's gonna need a whole endorsement deal. Make America Absorbent Again merch coming soon. And listen, this was just the warm-up, because what Jimmy says next takes the roast to a whole dangerous new level.
Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. We would do Jimmy Kimmel. I'd do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot.
Yeah.
He used to greet me on the sidewalk outside of his studio. I'd come in. This was before politics, of course. But I'd come in, and he'd be standing on the sidewalk. Oh, sir, may I bring you in? He'd bring me in every time. And then I ran for politics. I never, got involved with him much. But all they do is talk bad about Trump. That's all. The whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He is a ridiculous person.
Fuck. Imagine being so salty. You lose the presidency, you lose the crowd, and now you're losing your mind on a podcast about Jimmy Kimmel. Trump out here acting like Jimmy was his personal butler. Sir, may I bring you inside? Bro, it's not a royal ball, it's late night TV. The funniest part? Trump really thinks the only reason Jimmy roasts him is because he ran for politics. No, dude. It's because you're the living meme of the century. And Jimmy's response? Simple. Director. Deadly. He is a ridiculous person. Honestly, Jimmy didn't even have to roast him hard here. Trump just set himself on fire and handed Jimmy the marshmallows. And we're just getting started.
Tonight is a special night at the White House. It's Donald and Melania's 20th wedding anniversary. 20 years is a long time, especially for Melania. This morning, Trump paid tribute to his longest-serving wife by reposting this AI image of himself with a lion.
20 years of marriage, and somehow it feels like 20 years of hostage negotiation for Melania. Jimmy didn't even need to exaggerate. Trump celebrated this milestone by reposting an AI image, because nothing screams true love like a Photoshop fail. Also, let's be honest, when your greatest achievement in marriage is just longest-serving wife, you're basically admitting it's been less of a relationship and more of a prison sentence. Melania is probably counting the years like an inmate counts down days till parole. And Trump? He's out here flexing AI pics like he won the romance Olympics. Bro, even your wedding anniversary feels like a campaign stunt now. Absolutely legendary levels of cringe. And trust me, it gets even worse. Eyes.
Has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less-than-average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Blah, 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 make America great again. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still... Isn't it past your jail time?
Trump roasting Jimmy's Oscars hosting skills is like a dumpster fire critiquing a candle. Trump called Jimmy less than average. Bro, coming from a man who thinks spelling coffee as kavfef is peak intelligence, that's practically a compliment. Also, shout out to Trump for randomly yelling, "Make America Great Again" at the end. Because nothing says, "I'm losing the argument," like pulling out the MAGA card mid-rant. And that past your jail time line? Pure projection, buddy. At this point, Trump's legal bills have their own zip code.
Jimmy Fallon asks me if he could do one thing. Could he play with my hair?
Can I mess your hair up?
I want to see if it's real. So he didn't just play. He puts his hand in my hair, and the audience went wild, and they loved it. 6 months later, he stood up, and he said, "I'd like to apologize for doing that." He lost his whole audience when he did that.
Imagine your life highlight being someone ruffling your hair on national TV. Trump acted like Jimmy Fallon touching his hair was some historic presidential achievement, right up there with the Gettysburg Address and the moon landing. And then, 6 months later, Jimmy apologized. Not because he touched Trump's hair, but because he accidentally humanized a cartoon villain. Also, Trump claiming Jimmy lost his whole audience. After that, bro, that's rich coming from the guy who lost Twitter, the popular vote, and half of America's respect. All before breakfast. At this point, his hair has seen more action than his approval ratings.
So I said to our great First Lady, who can draw a crowd? Did you watch me tonight on television, First Lady? People love our First Lady out there. Go out and get a book. She just wrote a book. I hope she said good things about it. I don't know. I didn't. So busy. She just wrote a book called Melania. Go out and buy it. It's great. And if she says bad things about me, I'll call you all up and I'll say, don't buy it. Get rid of it.
Individual freedom is a fundamental principle that I safeguard. Without a doubt, there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth: individual freedom. What does my body?
Trump promoting Melania's book like it's a Black Friday sale at Walmart. Go buy Melania's book, it's great. Unless she says something bad about me, then burn it. Classic Trump, unconditional support, only if it's all about him. Meanwhile, Melania's on her own little TED Talk, talking about individual freedom and women's rights. Someone tell her the biggest threat to her individual freedom might be sitting 2 inches away at dinner. Honestly, watching these two talk about freedom feels like watching 2 Netflix shows playing at once. One's a political thriller, the other's just bad reality TV.
Well, our president kept the crowd very warm at CPAC over the weekend. CPAC, if you're not familiar, is basically what would happen if Judge Jeanine Pirro headlined the Fire Festival. It's a lot of very angry white people. It is the largest gathering of people who believe vaccines are witchcraft in the world. And for 2 hours and 2 minutes, Donald Trump gave what I believe we may look back on as his I Have a Dream speech. This was his longest speech since taking office. He went on and on. You could have left this speech, watched 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, come back, and he would still have been going. And to kick things off, Trump went to one of his signature moves to start it. And I know there's a lot of competition, but I think this might be the dumbest thing he does. Who does that? Donald Trump shows more affection to flags than Eric and Don Jr. have ever gotten in their whole lives.
Trump at CPAC was like your uncle who starts a story at dinner, and by breakfast, he's still talking. 2 hours and 2 minutes of pure, whatever the opposite of inspiration is. And that flag hug? Man showed more love to the American flag than he's ever shown to Eric or Don Jr. combined. And those are his actual kids. At this point, someone needs to break it to Trump. The flag can't vote for you, buddy. Honestly, watching that hug was emotional. Not for patriotism, but for the flag, because it clearly needed an adult. Ugh.
Hey, speaking of prisoners, this should be an interesting Valentine's Day at the White House. For instance, will Donald Trump get flowers from Vladimir Putin? We don't know. And what about his wife, Melania? Will they spend the night together, or will she remain trapped like Rapunzel at their apartment in New York? You know, Melania Trump has a new line of greeting cards. They carry these now at CVS. They're interesting, actually. I've not seen any. Happy Valentine's Day. Open out, saving.
Valentine's Day at the Trump household must be wild. 1 bouquet for Melania and 2 love letters to Vladimir Putin. Honestly, imagining Melania trapped like Rapunzel in Trump Tower, except instead of a handsome prince, she gets nightly tweets about fake news and crowd sizes, and those new greeting cards? Happy Valentine's Day. Remember, you signed a prenup. If Melania's lucky, maybe this year Trump will send her a card that says, I love you almost as much as I love talking about myself. Honestly, at this point, even the Secret Service agents must be buying her sympathy chocolates.
I'm guessing he noticed a bunch of people posting about his anniversary, which remind him, oh, it's my anniversary. So he then reposted this sweet photo of Melania literally pushing him away from her.
Imagine forgetting your own anniversary and then posting a picture where your wife looks like she's calling security. Melania wasn't just pushing him away, she was 1 inch away from a full WWE takedown. Honestly, if looks could file for divorce, Trump would have been single before he even hit post. Someone tell him next time, flowers, not Facebook memories. At this point, even the official White House photographer must be like, sir, maybe maybe just delete it?
Jimmy Fallon asks me if he could do one thing. Could he play with my hair?
Can I mess your hair up?
I want to see if it's real. So he didn't just play. He puts his hand in my hair, and the audience went wild, and they loved it. 6 months later, he stood up, and he said, "I'd like to apologize for doing that." He lost his whole audience when he did that.
Trump told this story like someone had dropped an antique treasure in a museum. Jimmy touched my hair, and the whole of America went crazy. Bro, relax. The audience wasn't roasting your hair, they were roasting your shampoo routine. And when Jimmy Fallon apologized, Trump got so serious like someone had just canceled his chance of winning the football World Cup. Trump's logic level: if you touch my hair, people's love. If you say sorry, the death of the audience. Honestly, if messing up hair could win elections, Trump would be the brand ambassador for shampoo by now. Cleaning Supplies, USA.
According to reports from multiple news outlets, his former sister-in-law alleges that Hegseth's wife was terrified he would abuse her to the point where she and her sister had a code to text each other if her husband became violent, and she feared for her safety.
All right, hold up. This is a whole new level of crazy. According to reports from multiple news outlets, Jimmy Kimmel spilled some real tea about Hex's wife. And it's not the kind of stuff you'd expect to hear on late-night TV. Turns out she was so terrified of him that she and her sister had a whole emergency texting code. Yep, you heard that right. A literal code for when things got violent. It's like a script straight out of a thriller movie, but unfortunately, this was her reality. Can you imagine that? Having to live every day wondering, is today the day I have to send that SOS text? It's chilling. I mean, you'd think we're talking about something straight out of a drama series, but nope, this is real life. And this level of fear, no one should ever have to live through that. Damn.
Usually when Donald Trump gets a spanking like this from a woman, it's with a Forbes magazine. Kamala was pushing his buttons like a 12-year-old playing Fortnite. This was a much better debate than the last debate. This is like the Lion King when Simba came back to avenge Mufasa. Trump's advisors, before the debate, they urged him to be happy Trump instead of mean bully Trump, and to please focus on the issues. Of course, he didn't listen to any of that at all. But who are we kidding? This election isn't about the issues. I mean, Dick Cheney isn't voting for Kamala Harris because he agrees with her on the issues. He's voting for her because there's a rhinoceros charging and she has the tranquilizer gun.
All right, here's where Trump really went off the rails, and not in the way we expected. So, Donald Trump gets a spanking like this from a woman, and it's with a Forbes magazine? Like, seriously? Bro, it was like watching a 12-year-old playing Fortnite, just constantly pushing buttons and hoping for a reaction. Epic fail. Now Trump's advisors told him before the debate, hey, be happy Trump, not the mean bully Trump. Focus on the issues. Of course, he was like, yeah, nah, I'm good. But honestly, who are we fooling? This election is not about the issues, not even close. I mean, let's be real. Dick Cheney's not voting for Kamala Harris because they agree on policy. Nope, he's voting for her because there's a rhinoceros charging and she's got the tranquilizer gun. Yeah, that's the level of strategy we're dealing with here. Ha ha ha.